What's up, folks? Welcome to video number 13 in Project 3030, 30 videos in 30 days. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 11 of my favorite adventure books. Some of these books I started reading when I was young. Some of them I've just recently picked up in the last few years. But all of them I have thoroughly enjoyed. They are my absolute favorites, and I'm really excited to share these with you guys. First, I'm going to start with some books that I started off with when I was really young. They're great for young readers. Then we'll go into some survival at sea books, and then two of my very favorite novels. Then I'm going to share with you 4 books that are true stories about voyages on simple crafts. Really, really cool. And then I'll share with you one. The most recent one I picked up that I totally loved, I read it last year, is about modern day pirate treasure hunting. Very, very cool stuff. So the first 2 books are some that I started reading when I was really young. I was probably like 12 years old when I first read these, and I probably read them 3 or 4 times between when I was 12 and 16 years old. They're by a great author named Gary Paulson, and the books are about a young boy who goes on these different like survival adventures. The first one is when he actually gets stranded like in a plane crash out in the wilderness, and he has to survive by himself. Then the other ones, he's like going back and revisiting things, and all the while surviving, and very, very cool stuff. And fairly realistic, but it's really easy for a young reader to read. And I would give these books credit as part of my craving for adventure and the outdoors. So if you have some young readers, some kids, maybe your grandkids, nieces, nephews, whatever, fantastic gifts right here. As my boys get older, I'm certainly going to be assigning these books to them to read, and then they need to write me a book report on them. Yeah, I'm seriously going to do that. I think it's going to be pretty awesome. Next up are 2 books about survival at sea. These are people who are stranded in their life rafts. Now the first one is Adrift by Stephen Callahan. This is about a guy, he was like on a sailboat race, on a small sailboat, and he was cruising in the middle of the night. I think he was like in the cabin, and the boat crashed into something, probably like a submerged container from a container ship, and he had to survive for 76 long days at sea in his life raft. Very, very cool. True story. Awesome. The next one is 66 Days Adrift. This is about a couple who they were actually sailing on their boat at night. They had their lights in the up in their mast on, and they were shining down in the water. Well, some killer whales came and surrounded their boat and were like swimming with their boat. Well, then they started bumping into their boat. Then they eventually started ramming their boat and sunk their boat, and they were stuck in their life raft for 66 days. Very cool stuff, you guys. Where did I say we were going to go next? All right, we're going to go to these 2 novels. These are my favorite novels. They are not true stories. What is that? That makes them fiction novels. They're fantastic. They're written by Jimmy Buffett. Where is Joe Merchant and A Salty Piece of Land? I probably read both of these books 3 or 4 times, and I read them both last year, and I just thoroughly enjoy them. They're really good adventure books. They talk about the tropical life, and the setting of them is very good, like down in the Florida Keys, down in different parts of Florida, in the Caribbean. Very, very cool stuff. I would highly encourage you guys to read these. They're so much fun. Now, next up, these are the books that really got me sparked on adventures and stuff, and making my own adventures happen, specifically on the water. So the first one is My Old Man and the Sea. It's about a father and son who build their own sailboat. It was a 25-foot sailboat. How big was it? Yes, a 25-foot sailboat that they built themselves. Then they set off from North America and sailed all the way down around South America, around Cape Horn, which is a pretty big deal, and then all the way back up. Really, really cool book. Next up, this one is freaking awesome. This is called Maiden Voyage. It's about a girl named Tanya Eby, and how big was her boat? 26 foot. Okay, here's the plot. So Tanya Eby was an 18-year-old dropout, a bicycle messenger in New York City by day, and a barfly at night. In short, she was going nowhere. But then her father offered her a challenge. He gave her an option. He would either pay for her college education or buy her a 26-foot sailboat. But there was one catch. If she got the sailboat, she would have to sail it around the world alone. And that's what she did. It was totally awesome. Really great book here. Next one, totally cool. Flirting with Mermaids by John Kretschmer. I've read this several times. I read it last year. And it is about John Kretschmer, who was a yacht delivery captain, and now he's actually still around. I think he's a yacht broker and yacht salesman now. He has a lot of good stories about in the beginning of his career when he was doing a lot of yacht deliveries around the world, where they're going to different countries, getting in all kinds of mess, or dealing with weird owners or boats that he would show up to deliver 1,000 miles and they'd just be pieces of junk, and he'd still have to deliver them. Just great stories throughout this whole book. Really, really fun. Next up, all right, this was probably the biggest influence on me. It's called A Speck on the Sea. I read this last year as well. It's basically a collection of a bunch of stories of people doing incredible voyages on small craft. It starts back as far as like the Inuits who would get lost in kayaks and wind up somewhere hundreds of miles away and then survive this incredible journey on their kayak. And then it goes into back in the golden age of the sea, like some survival stories of people surviving in small rafts or small boats. And then it goes on to the era of where people were trying to set records as like the smallest craft to sail across the Atlantic Ocean. And it was just really, really fun to follow along on all those, the progression and how things worked and how they made it all happen, the hardships they went through on these simple, small crafts. Like the smallest one to go across was like, I don't know, something stupid, like 3.5 foot or something, that someone sailed across from North America to Europe or whichever, one way or the other. Very, very cool stuff. And this is one of the things that, made me, excited and eager to get out there and say, hey, you can do some pretty good adventures on some small boats. So that's kind of what got me started, is reading this. And I've read this, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 times. Totally awesome book. Next up, Pirate Hunters. Totally enjoyed this book. I found out about it. I can't remember exactly how, but I bought it and I read it. And as soon as I picked it up, I could not put the freaking thing down. It is amazing. And it was written in like 2015, so it's a modern story about these 2 guys who knew a lot about the historic stuff, knowledge about pirates and stuff. They knew about this one ship that went down in this general area hundreds of years ago, and so they went on a search for it. And they went through all kind of stuff to search for it, whether you're looking in old archives, old libraries, or talking with locals about legends and stuff. And they pieced together all these clues to, I don't want to spoil it for you, but the ending's really, really good. It's so cool, so awesome how they hunt down this pirate ship and how they actually go out in the water and they search for it. Totally, totally cool. Highly recommend Pirate Hunters. It is awesome. And yeah, I only have the little cover for it because my mom borrowed it. She's reading the book, but it's totally awesome. I really do encourage you guys to check out these books. Just order a couple of them, whichever ones intrigue you the most. And if you enjoy them, order all the rest of them. They are so much fun to read. I really enjoyed reading them because it kind of fed my hunger and my craving for adventure when I couldn't get out there, but it also inspired me and just drove me to make adventures happen. And I would like to encourage the same thing for you guys because, hey, let's all get out there and live an adventurous life as best we can. All right, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care. Get out there. God bless. And I will see y'all tomorrow. Love ya.